Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. So yeah, we're going to be doing something today. I don't know. I have a couple of ideas of things I want to do. I was looking into algorithms for generating enemy boards again. So may spend some time on the stream just fiddling with that and seeing if we can get something working. But there's a good chance that that's not going to go well and I'm not going to know what I'm doing. And so then in that case, we'll probably just make some new content, some new cards or something. But before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Gunforged is available for purchase. It's my first release as a full-time indie dev. So if you want to support my work, it's a great way to do it. And I think it's a relatively fun game. So yeah, you could also try the demo if you're interested before purchasing. And I also have my Udemy courses. This one is the Create a Complete Online Co-op Multiplayer Game in Godot 4. That will teach you all of the essentials for creating online multiplayer games. So we go over the Godot high-level networking, remote procedure calls, server authoritative architecture, as well as the multiplayer spawner and multiplayer synchronizer nodes, and then a bunch of other stuff that typically goes into making a game more broadly, like UI theming and the various gameplay systems. So if you're interested in that, the links for those are in the description below. I also have just a regular old course that's not online, but this one is the Survivor style course. So yeah, those are all linked below. Check those out if you're interested. Again, it's a great way to support me. And yeah, with all that out of the way, we can get into it. Okay. Hello, Snub Bill. Thank you for the IDR 10,000. Very much appreciate that. As always, always good to see you. Welcome back to the stream. And we've got Yummers here. Yummers, Yummers, Yummers. First, whoops, 7th, maybe 6th. Welcome, Neozoid. Great to have you. The game jam is over, but the event is still going. Oh, the submitting and rating, or the rating, I mean. Well, good luck to you. I hope you get a good result on that. New day, new stream. Hello, Galaxynarium. Welcome back. Great to see you again. Lurking Neozoid. Hello, Kzori. Welcome. Always good to see you. Artius, welcome back. All right, so I was talking with my AI assistant, my AI secretary here. And I was kind of brainstorming ideas for algorithms I could use to create enemy boards, because the problem with my game is that I've got a bunch of different cards that are all different dimensions. They can be 2x2, they can be 1x1, they could be 3x2, they could be 2x1, they could be 3x1, and then they can have cells missing too, so you could have like T and L shapes. So coming up with an algorithm that can just pack cards of varying dimensions onto a board is hard enough, but then there's the problem of generating boards that are actually sensible, right? So for instance, I don't want to put a windmill on an enemy board, which is a 2x2 card that increases the speed, in other words, increases the rate at which nearby minions attack. So if I place a windmill on a board where there's no minions adjacent to it, then that's just going to be a useless waste of space, right? So it's not just a matter of picking out a bunch of random cards and placing them on the board. There has to be some constraint as to how the boards are configured. So the AI recommended one of this system, which is nope, where is it? Let's see. Yeah, constraint-based approach, which is basically that you put a bunch of constraints in this solver, and the solver just goes through many iterations until all the constraints are satisfied. Now, the problem with that is that that could waste a lot of time, because it could take multiple hundreds of iterations, perhaps, to generate a valid constraint-based board. So it wouldn't be really suitable for runtime generation, so I'd probably want to use the constraint-based approach to just create configurations ahead of time and save them. But it sounds like wave function collapse, which is probably an algorithm that you've heard before if you were doing procedural generation. It sounds like this may alleviate that problem, but I don't know anything about wave function collapse. So maybe we'll do a little bit of learning about that and see if I can make something work here. Quinn's Game Jam in Game Jolt, if you're interested. Okay, very nice. My bad if I self-promo. That's okay, yeah. So, Quinn's Game Jam in Game Jolt. What's the name of your game? So the Game Jam is called Quinn's Game Jam? I just have a question. It's a problem generally, and it's how I can design UI rect panels with just a small design path like making maps with tile maps. How I can design UI rect panels with just a small design path. I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to accomplish, Kzori, so if you want to elaborate, maybe I can give you some ideas. Hello, Turbo Shook, welcome. Wave function collapse can still find invalid configurations and will need to rerun. Interesting, okay. So let's see what happens. Even if we get nowhere with this on this stream, it might be a good introduction for some people out there, including me. All right, so wave function collapse is a procedural generation algorithm originally developed for creating images from example patterns, but it can be adapted beautifully for your grid-based encounter generation. Think of WFC like solving a jigsaw puzzle, but instead of having predefined pieces, you're working with possibilities that collapse into concrete choices as you make decisions. The core metaphor. It's going to give me a metaphor using quantum physics. Are you serious? Why would you use that as a metaphor? Why would you use one of the hardest conceptual topics known to man to use that as a metaphor? This AI. Is the AI getting super intelligent? Is this how it's flexing its intelligence with me? Anyway, start with maximum entropy. Every grid cell contains all possible cards it could hold. Choose one cell and collapse it to a specific card. Propagate constraints. This choice eliminates the incompatible possibilities from neighboring cells. Repeat. Continue collapsing cells with the lowest remaining possibilities until done. Okay. So WFC for your auto battler. Define local patterns. Instead of global constraints, WFC works with local adjacency rules. You'd analyze your manually created encounters to extract patterns like tank cards. Well, I don't have a tank card, but usually at least adjacent to the... Okay. Large... Okay. Each grid cell starts with a set of possible tiles, cards, or empty space. As the algorithm progresses, these possibilities get pruned based on what's been placed nearby. Okay, so this is just giving it an example. Each cell can be tank, DPS, support, healer, empty. After placing tank at 2-2, adjacent cells can't be tank, but can be DPS, support, and empty. Okay. Every cell contains all possible card states. Calculate initial entropy number of possibilities for each cell. Okay. Find the cell with the lowest entropy, fewest remaining possibilities. Randomly select one possibility and assign it to that cell. If there's a tie, use heuristics. Oh, if there's a tie for the lowest entropy. Okay. Propagation. Update all neighboring cells to remove now impossible options. So... Okay, so some cells might end up with 0 possibilities, which is a contradiction. So we'd have to implement backtracking. If contradictions occur, backtrack to the previous state and try a different choice, or restart with different initial conditions. Implementation strategy. Pattern extraction phase. Before using WFC, you'd analyze your existing encounters and build a pattern database. A pattern database. Transform your patterns into adjacency rules. Do I need this? Analyze your existing encounters to build a pattern database. Transform your patterns into adjacency rules. Your cards can have different sizes, so you need to adapt WFC. 2x2 card occupies 4 cells but is placed as one decision. Use hierarchical WFC. First decide large structure. Oh no. Oh no. Synergy aware WFC. Incorporate your card synergies into the adjacency rules. Simple local rules create complex global behavior. You might discover new synergy combination you hadn't thought of. Adding new cards only requires defining their local adjacency rules. Controllable randomness. For large boards with many card types, the possibility space explodes. You might need optimizations using a proc. Okay, I don't know what it means by large boards, but WFC is only as good as your training data. If your manual encounters have biases or limitations, WFC will amplify them. Okay, let me ask about this. Do I need the pattern extraction phase if I already know how cards can synergize based on their implementation details? Okay, so it says no, I don't need that. Direct rule derivation from card logic. Instead of analyzing board examples, you can directly translate your card mechanics into WFC adjacency rules. Okay, all right. Instead of building a pattern database from examples, you build it oh my goodness. All right, well, I might need to experiment with this a little bit. Probably not going to make any headway on this on the stream, but I think that's good information. It sounds like in theory it would work. It's just, I don't know exactly how all of these rule sets are exactly going to work. So I might have to play with that later. Why does this keep jumping around? Goodness gracious. Okay, anyway. WFC is auto-tiling by calculating probs. I did this algorithm with Python. The probs of tiling get reduced every time a tile is placed. Right, okay, that makes sense. Hello, JJ Riggs. Just picked up your multiplayer course on Udemy. I'm about halfway through and it's very thorough and well-paced. Wish I had when I started looking into multiplayer a year ago. Awesome, glad to hear that. Yeah, one thing about the multiplayer course is that we get into multiplayer concepts within like the first 10 lessons. So, and that was a very conscious decision because I didn't want to wait like, 30 lessons before you actually get into multiplayer stuff. So we start building the multiplayer functionality like right from the beginning of the course. Might stream game development for the GWJ in August. What is GWJ? But yeah, I would encourage you to stream for sure. I think streaming during a game jam is actually a great way to build an audience because I think there's going to be a lot of people on YouTube and elsewhere who are also game developers who will be looking around at game jam stuff. Oh, Godot Wild Jam. Okay, well, if it's a relatively small jam, then maybe it wouldn't be as impactful as I thought, but yeah, it can't hurt. It certainly can't hurt. I don't think it's a brilliant idea to make WFC for cards. The WFC is more useful and stable on tile map systems or procedural generations. Making WFC to random the entire game like stages cards is crazy. Why is that crazy? Like, what about it is not going to work? Because at the end of the day, it's just a constraint-based algorithm, right? It's just a way of placing patterns together that make sense together. Do you have any alternate suggestions for how I could implement an algorithm to create valid board configurations? maybe we will not do that right now. Good morning, Emerson. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to... Well, we'll just keep that. Let's see here. Let's do a new card. Let's do another. So the problem is I've created the barkeep, but he's not in any of the board configurations yet. So I need to do that. But also I want to do a beer mug. Let's do a beer mug. So we did a barkeep, we're doing a beer mug. Oh, I guess alcohol is on my mind. All right. Okay. Let's see how long this will take. Probably too thick. Actually, now that I think about it, okay, there's our beer mug. It's done. I'm kidding, of course. We want to add, like, beer overflowing. That doesn't look bad. Don't know about this orange in here. I actually think that's probably okay. Cool. That doesn't look terrible. I mean, it can be work, but it's not such an optimized way. Because the WFC will not just calculate the card props, but stages, actions, possible wins, shop items, and other stuff. Oh, I'm not using... No, I'm not going to use WFC for the whole map generation, no. Just very narrowly generating the enemy encounters. That's it. It's just... The only application of wave function collapse is going to be to create the enemy boards that you actually encounter in the game. Everything else is just a straight up, just normal chance-based, loot table-based algorithm for determining what's the word I'm looking for? What gets placed on the map. So like the shop inventory is just a straight up loot table. It's just like, here's the cards that the shop can have access to, and just choose from that loot table, you know what I mean? That barkeep card looks so good. Thank you. Yeah. It's putting my older cards that I made to shame. So I'm going to have to go back and redraw some things. How are we feeling about this beer mug? Or this... Does that look enough like a beer mug? I think it does. Looks all right. Might just do this. Yeah, I like that better. I don't know about this floating pixel out here. I was trying to make it like look like a drip or something, but I don't think that's gonna necessarily work. I mean, maybe it can. Look like a beer, yeah, really nice. All right. I don't drink alcohol, but I think that's pretty good. All right, there we go. The beer looks shifted on right. Yeah, I think it's, you mean it's more over to the right than centered? I mean, that has to be the case because the handle is here. Okay, I think that's fine. Cool. Beer mug. I might call this like a stein. Is that the word? Yeah, we'll call it a stein. Hello, Artem. Welcome. Cheers. Yes, indeed. Art, quick load. Beer mug. 1 by 1. Turn cooldown. I'm going to change the default turn cooldown, actually. Let's do 10. 10 is the default, because that's kind of like the number that I'm kind of averaging out to, I think. So let's build. That should change to 10 here, I think. What are the lanes you have in your Kanban other than to do, doing, done? So I have, yeah, so to do, in progress, done, which are like the 3 minimum ones I think you need for a Kanban board. But then I have just a list of ideas, a list of elements that I want to polish but aren't necessary for my end goal, which is the playable demo. Then I have a bunch of ability ideas listed, and then I have enemy art ideas and player art ideas for the cards. These are basically cards, so I should do card ideas. Is this Trello? This is Obsidian. Yeah, it's Obsidian. Yeah, it's a granular backlog because, I mean, the other way to do it is to add tags to everything. So I could do like, you know, card here. And that's one way to do it, but I think just putting them in different backlogs is a little bit easier. Okay. So now we got to figure out what we want the beer mug to do. Make it a ritual item. What should we give it? What kind of ability should we give the beer mug? Let's think. I'm wondering, would it be interesting to introduce the concept of a card that's just like a passive buff, but it doesn't have any turn executions? I may introduce that in the future, although maybe not. Oh, here's an interesting one. We could have it grant crit chance to other enemy cards. I usually use tags for determining what part of the product it is for distributed teams like code, textures. Gotcha, yeah. That's a good way of doing it too. Hello, Real Cruda. How are you and the cats doing? Great, doing great. How are you doing? Just joined. Is the beer mug a player card? It is not. No, it's an enemy card. Anything that's like human themed is going to be an enemy card. Anything that's like undead or occult is going to be a player card. The player will get drunk and miss the attacks. Yeah. Crit up, accuracy down or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a the thing that I'm hesitating on is I don't have a concept of like accuracy in the game yet. So yeah. And I don't really necessarily even like that accuracy mechanics because it feels really bad to miss an attack. I think this is like a little game dev trick that I've learned is that, how do I describe this? Like you don't want the player to feel like they're being punished. You want them to feel like they're being rewarded. And so you could have, a 10% chance to miss, right? Or you could have a 10% chance to crit and just tone down the base damage such that over, X number of executions, the overall DPS output roughly equals, with the crit chance, it roughly equals the damage output that you'd have if you had a chance to miss, right? But missing feels bad and critting feels good. So you just flip the framing a little bit and now all of a sudden it feels better and it's functionally the same, right? So I don't really personally like miss mechanics that much. I think they have their place in certain types of games, but doing good but hurt my back sleeping. Yeah. It's like sleeping is the most dangerous thing most of us will ever do. I suppose it can suck at the player's end to feel like they're having the control taken away from them or something. Yeah. That makes sense. Also, hi, just tuned in. Hello, Brute Fred. Welcome back. Okay, what should we give? So gains crit chance magnitude. I kind of want to do crit chance, but the problem is that would have to be a temporary thing because this card still has turns, right? So it should only apply the crit chance after a turn, after an execution. So it needs to be more like the projected abilities, where the projected abilities get placed on the card once, and then they disappear after the next execution. So I'd have to do like a projected crit chance as well, I think. Legit struggling to get up, yeah. Hello, Define Dottie. We're working on anything specific today. No, just putting new content in. I started this stream with a brief exploration of some enemy encounter generation algorithms, but I need to spend more time with that off stream. Do you have a rare enemy like Cactuar or Magic Pot, where the enemy does something that makes it difficult to take down, but if you do, you get a big or rare reward? I don't have that yet. I'm open to that idea. Hello, Ezabi. Welcome back to the stream. Maybe we'll do a projected crit chance. Hello, Ludovica. I'm new, saw your video about pixel art and it helped me a lot to get started. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start creating a game? Yeah, I mean, you got to start with the fundamentals. You got to start with learning some programming, get oriented around whichever engine you're going to use. And I'm like a trial by fire person typically. So just think of a game like a very small game idea you want to make. It could be replicating, I don't know, Super Mario Brothers, or it could be replicating Pong or whatever. Or it could just even be, hey, I want to have a tile map environment where I can walk around, right? It doesn't even necessarily have to be a game, but you stay small and then you just tackle each problem that comes up one part at a time, right? So if you want to have a player move around in an environment, well, the first problem obviously is, how do I get the player to move? So that involves how to set up the player, like if you're using Godot, how to set up the player scene, how to detect inputs in accordance with what keys are pressed on the keyboard, and then how to translate those inputs into an actual motion on screen. So there's a bunch of tinier problems that come out of that one goal, which is make the player move. And I think that's a great way of getting into game development, is just like break it down into tiny parts and just complete one tiny step at a time, you know? Hello, Ninja Link, welcome back. Currently in a game jam with a team of 6. Oh, nice. What's your role in the game jam? The vibes that I'm getting from your account and profile picture is that you're an artist, but I could be wrong. Have you found working with limited palette in your game's art has helped improve with pixel art at all? Yes. Yeah. Constraints of all kinds definitely help with creating pixel art. I mean, I think just yesterday I was struggling with trying to find the right colors for doing various things with the barkeep, and that struggle makes you think more creatively about how to use color in a way that gives the impression of shadow or highlights or dirt or whatever it is. Another favorite of mine is WYEY on YouTube. He's going through the process of recreating Super Mario World in Godot. Oh, nice. I'm gonna have to check that out. My current game just uses left click currently and tab for opening a ledger. Spent 5 days adding a full mood system for a debt letter, so the person gets anxious and angry at the debt letter. That sounds interesting. It's like a credit collection papers, please kind of thing. I'm a UX designer. I was the artist, but I traded roles with my friend who is miles better than me at art. Got you. Okay. All right, so let's see. Do we want to do projected crit chance? Let's do it. Let's do it. So how am I going to do that? So get the base critical chance. We don't want to change the base critical chance. Get modified critical chance. How do I want to do this? Oh, I can use the... Oh, interesting. So I have this card debuff system. I think I should probably just rework the system to just be a card buffed / debuff system. Oh, the problem though is that this has a turn counter. I see. Get modified critical chance. I think that's the way I would do it. I would implement it as a buff, which is currently just called a debuff system, so I'm going to have to rename that, but let's just do this. Critical chance buff. Critical chance buff. So this is going to have to be a little bit different. I don't know. Let's see. So we got the card debuff, which is going to become a card buff. Let's do turn duration. Public int remaining executions. Int execution duration equals 0. I might need this to be configured a little bit. Can expire. What is this? Actually, let's do this. Let's collapse those things into a single duration. This will be public int remaining duration. It might be overkill to do this, but if I do a public enum tick, I don't know, tick strategy, turn execution. We'll get rid of this remaining turns, remaining executions. Public tick strategy, strategy. We'll set that to turn by default or protected set. Remaining duration. Okay, so now we can get rid of this. Remaining duration is equal to duration. If strategy is equal to tick strategy.execution. Yep, and then this. This is actually duplicate, so var nouns is equal to turn turns. Nouns is equal to execution executions. Remaining duration -1. Now this tick debuff let's change this. Let's create two separate functions. Public virtual void tick turn debuff. Actually, maybe we'll just keep that as one method. No, I think I was in the right. Yeah. If strategy equals tick strategy.turn. So let's do not equal. Return. Tick execution debuff. Okay. So I've rewritten this now so it can tick on turns or on executions using a single duration variable. So I'm sure that broke a bunch of my debuff stuff. Did it? No, that works. That also works. Okay, so that change doesn't actually affect anything as far as the implementation of the debuffs. This needs to be renamed. This should be tick turn debuffs. And then here, it's the turn executor component. Post cooldown tick. Run execution. Run lifecycle tick, turn tick. I almost wonder if I should put this in the base card. So execute abilities. This is the ability execution loop here. Post abilities executed. Yeah, so let's do this. Card debuff container or debuff container. Tick turn tick execution. What? Oh, I need to put this at the debuff container level. Tick execution debuff. Tick execution debuff. This expired, so let's do this. Let's put this in a private method. Private void expire debuffs. And then expire debuffs here. Oh. No, expire debuffs here. My cat is sneezing. Hello, Arion. Welcome back. I'm doing well. How are you doing? There's 5 people currently and 5 letters, and each letter delivered does a different mood, and the person profile in the ledger updates as the letter is delivered. So yeah, I think I'm doing good. Awesome. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Hello, Rin. Welcome back. Great to see you again, as always. Cool Modder Jaden, welcome back. I decided to switch from C# to GD extension to have more control over the code I write. It's been a little annoying, but that's just how C++ is. Yeah, interesting. So what exactly did you need control over that you felt like you needed to use the GD extension? Still lurking, Neozoid? MKRD, welcome, welcome. What are we probably going to be doing today? Well, right now I'm adding a beer mug, which looks like this. And this beer mug is going to provide a temporary buff to critical chance for minions. So yeah. So there's a couple of things that needs to happen. So I'm reworking my system, which was previously only for debuffs. Now I'm reworking it so that I can accept or have buffs as well. So that's I'm gonna have to do some finagling to get that to work. And then I actually need to make an ability that can apply that buff. But now this is opening up a new possibility, which is I can have buffs that last. So typically a debuff lasts a certain amount of turns, but I'm changing it now so that I can also support buffs that last a certain amount of executions, or debuffs that last a certain amount of executions. So yeah, that's basically what we got going on here. So now in here, tick execution debuffs in the base card, and that will tick there. Actually, I'll do that after I clear the... I guess it doesn't really matter, but... So now, in my base card here, I get modified critical chance. I think in here, what I could do is I could modify... Yeah, we'll see. Hello, Alien, welcome back. You're probably doing something, I presume? I am. Something is probably going to be done today, yeah. Something is happening. In my analysis, I would say there's a chance of something be done today. Does C# have any advantages over GDScript? Just the structural advantages that you get with the static typing and abstract classes, interfaces, all that good stuff. Link is a big advantage. Hello, probably game devs. Hello, Ali. Welcome. Sat in a call with my friend and we ran through a game concept idea with lore. Nice. That might be a fun thing to do this stream, actually, is start adding flavor text to the cards. I think that'd be really fun, actually. Our game name, Haki Yoki. It's supposed to be exploration game, but we're out of experience with coding. Gotcha. So, Haki Yoki on Game Jolt for the Quinn Game Jam, is that right? Can I have some of that beer? It does look tasty, doesn't it? I'm using a cobble-based FSM implementation on my game. It works better than the node-based one. Awesome. Yeah, glad to hear that. That's been my opinion. My strong opinion about the finite state machines is that they should basically always be implemented as pure scripts rather than nodes. I think the node system, it doesn't offer many, if any, benefits over a pure script, and it's just more cumbersome to set up than a script-based implementation. And the other thing, too, is I think people, when they use the node-based system, they expect the nodes to be reusable across like multiple different state machines, but I just find that that's basically never the case. Like your entities are typically going to be different enough from each other that you either need to make a whole framework that's very generic that you can just plop some numbers into, or you could just write the state machine right on the entity root node and call it good, you know? And then whatever reused code or behaviors you have can just be, you know, functions, essentially. Abstract classes are going to be introducing Godot 4.5 for GDScript. Yeah, I thought there was going to be some problems with that, though. But I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with it. Hello, Casper. Just transferring from Unreal to Godot, trying to keep it simpler to experiment with stuff. Watching your code reviews has been awesome. Thank you, yeah. Going to try to do another code review for this weekend. I'm going to do another code review this weekend. I'm going to try anyway. Really getting to this 3-month deadline I'm giving myself. Awesome. Yeah. Giving yourself a deadline can help a lot. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that, but anyway. Is that what I need to use? Buff dot this card to debuff public virtual float modify critical chance float chance return chance. So yeah, so there's this get modified critical chance that is used everywhere where crits are used in the card. And so it's currently modifying the critical chance in accordance with any artifacts you have, in accordance with any enchants you have. Hold on a second. I just realized that I don't think that this artifact is... I don't think that this... I think these artifacts apply to the minions as well. Or the enemies as well. Oops. So I'm going to need to fix that. These are going to be fine because these are isolated to the card state. But anyway, so critical chance buff in here. Okay. So there's going to be a couple of problems in here, but that's all right. So I think that's it for the buff stuff. Now I need to make an ability. Simple paralysis. Let's see how this one works. Why does this need to be... Okay. New file, buff, critical chance.cs. I'm going to copy basically what I've got for paralysis here. The unfortunate thing is that this, yeah, eye ability magnitude. Oh, man. Oh, man. So my eye ability magnitude is only int based. Anyway. Oh wait, this magnitude is the number of turns. Oh, I see. Is that right? Yeah, okay, so that's the number of turns. So this is going to have a different kind of magnitude, but let's see. So I'd probably want to do float amount. Okay. Do the entire board. Yeah, I'm going to want this to scale a little bit differently, I think. I'm just looking at my query code here. Okay, whatever. I think that's all working. Duration of 1 and a magnitude of 0.1. So we're going to have to change that. We'll get rid of this for now. All right, well, we'll just create a new composed ability now. There's a lot of questions I have to resolve still. Simple, critical, chance, buff. Original max targets, we don't need this. We'll have to replace that number in there. Oh, did I do the wrong thing? Okay. This scale, I'm going to need to figure that out, so I'll get rid of that. What do I want to say instead of this? Critical chance of minion cards for 1 execution. I don't know what the exact wording is going to be here, but we'll figure that out. I don't know if that's going to work. I guess we'll figure it out. So I got to create a new card now. Simple buff, simple critical chance buff. Okay. Let's see what happens. Can you briefly explain how does that implementation of finite state machine works, how to set it up? Yeah, I mean, that implementation of finite state machine is basically like the methods. There are actual methods or functions that you write that become the states themselves. So the way that it works is it basically just, you can figure up all the functions that are your states, and then through the implementation, you can trigger state changes and whatnot. And all that the state change does is it just calls the method that's associated with that state. It's that simple, really. Hey, I've been using Godot for a year now and been out of tutorial help for a while, but I struggle with coming up with well-scoped projects. Any tips? Just try to be, my only tip for you would just be to try to be ruthlessly scope cutting, like go even smaller than you think is reasonable. And you can always increase the scope later, but just try to get very, very, very narrow. Get so narrow with the scope to the point that it feels restrictive, and then work with that. That would be my advice. Hello, Roof256. Welcome back. Great to see you again. All right, so we've got this beer mug. Increase the critical chance of minion cards for 1 execution. This is 6 turns. This is also 6 turns. Let's see if that works. I didn't see the buff added. I'm not sure if it's working. Let's put a breakpoint in here. That shiny animation around is really nice. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think the game is looking good. It's getting there for sure. It's getting there for sure. But I just gotta figure out why the heck this isn't working. Okay. Let's see what my targeted cards are. So it's targeting Skeleton Warrior. Okay, let's go to the base card then. Let's see if this chance is being modified at all. It isn't. Okay. Oh wait, I put it in the wrong spot. Oops. Where'd my base card go? Okay, buff. So the chance coming in is 0 after I apply it. Chance, oh, oops, chance equals that. All right, I forgot to reassign that. I think that's the reason why it wasn't working. So what I should be able to do is when this executes, right there, I should be able to click into here and see that that chance is updated. I'm not seeing the chance updated though. Why not? Okay, this would be easier if I just change this down to like 4 turns, because they execute at the same time, so that may be messing with it a little bit. But probably not. I think that should work. But let's just see. Yeah, so the critical chance improvement is not showing up there. Chance is 0.1. Oh. 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 Oh, you know what? I think I broke my debuff stuff. Wait a minute. I bet you if I did this as well. I bet you if I added paralysis to a card, it also wouldn't show up as a debuff. I think that's a consequence of my copying that I was doing. Let's do this. Game debug.add artifact. Artifact id.basilisk eye. I've been silently following your progress for months and your work is inspiring. I'm quitting my job to go freelance and I hope I will have free time to make games. Thanks for what you're doing. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Freelancing is a little bit, I mean, I'm kind of doing that right now with my part-time job. It can be a little bit fun, especially if you can make enough money to have lots of free time to do your game development and stuff. So I hope it goes well for you, John. I really do. Yeah, the paralysis is not appearing as a debuff here. So I think the buff is actually working from a technical standpoint. It's just that because of the card inspector work that I did, it's doing a shallow copy of the card, but it's not copying the interior of the debuff container either. So yeah, I gotta figure that out. Give me a 3-minute break though. I'm gonna go get a refill on my drink and all that stuff. And when I come back, we got a lot of loose ends to tie up. So there's a couple of things I need to do. I need to make the card inspection work with respect to debuffs again. I need to make the beer mug scalable in the sense that it increases the crit chance with every tier that it goes up. And then I need to, what else? I need to, yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff to do, but we're getting there. We're getting there. All in all, though, I think the system is very extensible. Like, I'm not having that much of a problem adding this new buff system. Oh, the other thing is we need to rename this card debuff to be more of like a generic buff / debuff container. So we'll be doing all that refactoring. But yeah, all in all, it hasn't been too difficult to add this crit chance. Just a lot of places to change, but that's for good reason, because there's the ability, then there's the composed ability, then there's the debuff that actually needs to get applied, and then it needs to have its effect actually work on the base card. Oh, the other thing I need to do is, let's see, artifacts affect enemy cards always. So that's a bug we need to fix as well. Let me do this too. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will handle all that. I'm pretty set on finishing all that for this stream, so we might go for a little bit longer, but we'll see. Anyway, BRB. Okay, I'm back. Have you done the hardest task yet? Figure out a name for the game. That is something that I have to get going very soon. I have an idea in mind, but I'm just not sure I want to commit to that. I like your having stream playing in the. I like having your stream playing in the background while working on my new compiler and doco. Very nice, yeah. We got a lot of people who just hang out and work on their stuff during the stream. It's a nice, chill, productive stream for everybody. How long have you worked on this project so far? I started it on March 7th. So I guess it's been just over 4 months. Okay, so let's do this. Initial work on beer mug ability. So we got to fix some things here. The card inspector, shallow duplicate. I might just cheat here a little bit. Actually, let's do this. Okay, that makes more sense. So instead of passing the duplicated card to the setup description, I can just pass it in the reference card, because this all this does is just read the card data. It doesn't set up any functionality or anything. So that's going to allow me to read the current state of the debuff container from that card without duplicating it. The shallow duplicate is probably still going to be a problem because it's not duplicating the debuffs, but I will cross that bridge when I get there. But for now, that's going to fix that issue, I think. So now if I put the beer mug here and the skeleton, and then I have that execute. Yeah, so now I've got the debuff appearing. You can see that it's got the critical chance up here now, 10%. This obviously is going to need to change, as well as this icon. So I'm going to need to be able to differentiate between buffs and debuffs, which is going to be another thing that I need to do. So, but anyway, it is working now. This should have 20% or 30%. Why did it have... Interesting. Oh, the debuff is not expiring. So the debuff is not expiring. Why is that happening? Well, let's see. Fix that. Oh, I have this can expire false up here, that's why. Okay, that should fix that. So I've got the critical chance, 1 execution remaining. Critical chance, 1 execution remaining. This should put 2 in there now. Yeah. Very nice. Sweet. I think that's working. And this says exhausted here. Cool. Okay, all of that is working now, so that's good. All right. So fix critical chance buff not expiring. Okay. So now we can start to do some of the other stuff. The next thing to do is to figure out how to actually... Does this need to be an ability magnitude? Where is this used? Everywhere. Let me think about how I want to do this. I think I am going to have to make... So this is an I ability magnitude here. I think I am going to have to make this a generic that can accept a float or an int. Where is this used? Let me just see. I could do something hacky here. I might do something hacky, actually. Oops, I'm going to do this. Magnitude divided by 100. And I'm just going to express the magnitude. So the magnitude is going to be the critical chance, but I'm just going to express it as an integer on the range of 0 to 100. So instead of having to refactor a bunch of things and make this like a generic type, I'll just keep it as an int and just divide by 100 there. That'll work. If it works, it works, you know? So now this buff critical chance needs to go into the simple critical chance buff. Now I need a scalar. So the initial, so the private read-only int base magnitude Oops, I don't need that. Okay, that'll work. How do you animate those spinning globes at the bottom? That's just an animation player rotating a bunch of sprites around and then changing the rendering order based on a certain point in the animation so it looks like it goes behind. Hello, Cat Hugger, welcome back. What's getting worked on today? Lots of good stuff. We're adding a beer mug, which gives critical chance to the enemies, to the enemy minions. Okay. Private, read-only, ability scaler. Make additive scalar 5. Magnitude equals scalar base magnitude tier. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. By description utils float 2%. Okay. Let's see if that works. Failed to build project. Oh. So we should see the number of 10%. Not to be confused with ability scaler. Right. 5%. Oh. Oops, I did that wrong. Okay. Increase the critical chance of minion cards by 5% for one execution. That's actually not correct. I need to do get magnitude there. Should be 10% because it's upgraded by 1. There we go, 10%. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, so that's working. Let's increment it again. I'm using the wrong variable name here, but that's right. So increment again, we should see 15% now. So that C# string interpolation syntax, that seems excessive, having 4 curlies. Well, the way that you escape a curly brace in a string interpolation is you have to use another curly brace. And the keyword system that I use uses double curly braces around the keywords to know which words to highlight. So in order to create an output string from a string interpolation that has 2 curly braces in it, you need to do you need to do an escape twice. So that's why there's 4 on each side, is because one pair creates a literal curly brace in the string, and the other pair creates the second literal curly brace in the string. It's a little bit confusing, but it doesn't typically look like that, the string interpolation. 15%. All right, let's see if this works. Oops, I went the wrong way. Oops, I went the wrong way. So this should be 15% now. Yeah, look at that, 15%. Sweet. Good morning, Adam. Welcome back. Oh, change the profile picture to the barkeep. That one suits you, I think, much better than the Phoenix. Although I do love the Phoenix. But yeah, check that out. Check that out. All right, so let's see. Now, the other thing to do is to verify that that crit chance is actually working. I think it should. But let's see. Okay, still got a lot of stuff to do, but let's see. Just want to make sure that the skeleton is actually critting like it should be. There's a crit. Now it should have a 30% crit chance. Yeah. Nice. And this should say paralyzed or exhausted. I'm just gonna watch this guy die, I guess. I killed the training dummy. All right. So I think that's working. So we got a couple of other things here. I don't need the training dummy up anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Okay. Add beer mug scaling. So that's all functional, so I still got a bunch of stuff to do though before this is done. For one, this name here. So here I'm gonna have to do this. Well, let's see. Description, utils.float 2%, buff amount. All right, that works. I think that should automatically make that look better. So let's see what that produces. Yeah, critical chance increased by 15%, 1 execution remaining. There you go. So that is now listing the buff there in the card description. But I need a different icon for this now. So I need a different icon for that. I also need to just rename this system. I'm just going to card buff container, rename this. rename that. Rename that. Okay, so now what I can do... Whoops. This is just called a buff container. Buff label placeholder. Okay. Export private texture 2D. Buff texture, texture 2D. Buff texture. So where is this actually located? Assets UI card. Buff indicator. All right, we're going to want to do a buff icon now. Do you plan on adding training grounds type area where players can test card combos and stuff? I can definitely add that. Yeah, I think that would be fine, but it's not in the works right now, obviously. Do you use Godot's built-in drag and drop for the cards or something custom? Not sure what the best approach is. I use something custom. Basically, I just detect mouse events over the card, and then I have a card mouse events manager which manages the drag state of all the cards. I have used the Godot drag and drop for Gunforge particularly, but that was very difficult to do to get to work well. So I think the custom system probably is going to be your better bet. That would be my hunch, at least. Should I just do like a basic arrow for the buff? No. Need like a symbol for buffing. Need a symbol for buffs. What am I gonna make it? What am I gonna make it? I actually don't have any ideas. I don't want to make it something boring like just a cross or whatever. Strong arm bicep icon. I wish I could do that, but let's see. I mean, we can try it. Oh, that doesn't look bad actually. Okay, wait a minute. We might be here. We might be onto something. There we go. Okay. I feel like I can't get this pixel placement right for the hand. Maybe it's okay. I wish I had a lighter color for this. What happens if I do this? That doesn't really look like a hand anymore. Bicep icon, yeah. Happy face, yeah. Chuck Norris, make the buff muscle arm holding a skull or heart or something. I don't have that much room. This is a 9x9 canvas here. I think it looks better as the orange. I mean, it looks okay, I guess. One pixel makes a huge difference. Well, I mean, we can try that, I guess. Let's just see how it looks in game. We can try that, I guess. Come on, build. 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 Thank you. Oh, it doesn't have an outline around it. Oops. It's also right up against the edges, so we'll flub it a little bit. Lightning bolt, that could work, yeah. Let's see how this works, though, first. So now I need a way of differentiating between whether it's a buff or not. Public virtual bool is debuff public override bool is debuff equals true. Is debuff equals true. All right, so now what? In my card inspector, ability label. Actually, you know what? I'll just duplicate this. How do I duplicate? Okay. Build. What card are we making? Elbows up? No, we're doing well, the beer mug is done, so it's a beer mug that gives a buff to adjacent enemies, and I didn't really have a concept of a buff in the game before, so all the changes that I'm making right now are in support of getting the buff system in place. Okay, that'll work, I think. And then okay. Let's see if all that worked. Showed up super early today. How we doing? Doing well, Mycoon Dev. How are you doing? All right, let's see. Moment of truth. And there is no combat very close. Okay. We'll just skip everything. Boom. Critical chance increased by 15%. There we go. I got the buff icon. It should buff again. Yeah, critical chance. Nice. Okay, that's looking all right, actually. That is looking all right, actually. Cool. All right. All right, so rework buff. Let's do rename buff system and add buff icon. Cool. Hello, Ruin Star. Welcome, welcome. Doing okay, writing some quiz questions for my student I'm teaching in Python and basics of programming. Awesome. That's great. All right, so let's see. I think the beer mug is done. Well, I still need, actually I'm going to put these back in because I still need to add them to the enemy config or board configs, but let's test this artifact affect enemy cards always. So I think my artifacts are affecting the enemy minions as well. So let's just see if that is indeed the case. Yeah, the villager has a 20% crit chance now because of this skull wand. So that's not great. So I think that's the last thing I need to do here. Let me think. Get player board. I'm going to rename this to modify player critical chance. If execution context dot source board is equal to context helper dot player board. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see if that works. And I renamed that to modify player critical chance, yeah. Hello, Ferneffer, welcome. That would be like a cool challenge mode or something. Yeah. Well, I was debating whether I should just leave that modify crit chance as like a global modifier, because then I could have an artifact that does increase the critical chance of enemy cards. But I will implement that as a separate thing. That's why I renamed the function to modify player critical chance, to very explicitly call out the fact that this is only for players. So in the future, if I ever wanted to have an artifact that does buff the enemies in exchange for something, I'll have to build just another method there, I think. So that's 20%. That still has 20%. What the heck? Why is this not working? I don't understand. Also, it wouldn't work anyway, so... I don't think that fix is actually going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work. Never mind. Interesting. So I need a different way of doing this. This execution context is a little bit tricky. Let me think. I think the best thing to do here, actually, I'll put this back. The best way to do this is going to be to do, in my card inspector here, just set up this context object a little bit better. And then execution context dot source board is equal to... No, this is not going to work either. Because now this is not going to show the crit chance increase for minions that are in the grid, in the inventory. So if I go here, no crit chance, but if I put it here, crit chance, right? Which is fine, but it's not ideal. I want to be able to target basically all the player cards. So what I might do is, well, I have a better way of doing this, actually, I think. I forgot that I have this. Yeah, this is actually going to be better. Execution context, or no, if is owned by player. Oh, I forgot I had that. If is owned by player. That's easy. I did it. Wow. No need for any more complex code than that. So now, 20%, 20%. And I go in here. Oh, it's got a 10% crit chance, but that's fine. How did I die? I forgot that I have that is owned by player. That's crazy. All right. Villager. Yep, perfect. All right, we fixed it. Nice. Cool. All right, so let's see. I actually don't need this anymore. Cool. Fix artifact applying to enemies. May I ask, is your multiplayer course doing okay? Don't have to give specifics, but I'm just curious. Hoping your runway gets larger so I can selfishly keep watching streams. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, everyone's been very supportive and it's made a good chunk of money. And between that and the continued sales of my other courses, as well as the income that I have from like my part-time job, yeah, I'm good. I'm good on runway. So there's the date at which I have to stop doing this is indefinite, which means that I can basically just forge ahead with making this game and we'll see how it does when this releases. So yeah, but I'm all good. I'm all good. Thanks for asking. Is the demo your next step? How long before you estimate before it's complete? Next step is a play test. Like you can call it like an alpha play test. So there's not going to be a publicly available demo, but I will be inviting people to play test, like especially people that follow my work very closely, but I'm not going to be hosting a demo on like Steam or anything. The demo will become available when I'm reasonably sure I'm going to release the game, because I don't want to release a demo and then change it a bunch and have to deal with all that. So, but yeah, you use Visual Studio Code? I do. Yes, I do. Okay, well, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you all for being here. I got to do some lunch and then also have some errands to run, so I'll be going and doing that. But I may do a stream later today, we'll see. But otherwise, I hope to see you back here at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And before I go, I want to remind everyone that I have my cooperative multiplayer game available for sale So if you're interested in learning how to build online co-op multiplayer games in Godot, check it out. 18.5 hours of video content. You get the code at the end of each lesson so you can follow along. And we cover all the multiplayer topics, remote procedure calls, server authoritative architecture, multiplayer spawner, all that good stuff. So that's linked in the description below. Check out my other courses as well. And let's see. How can I get an invite to playtest? My plan is to release a Discord server at the same time as the playtest. So basically anyone that is in the Discord server will be able to access the playtest. Later, Skater. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody. All right. Bye-bye.